Husband leaves me for the first woman who shows genuine interest in him because she's drop dead gorgeous and he's tired of feeling insecure. I'm 34F and my husband is 38M. We've been married for almost 2 years, have dated 2 years before that, so overall a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself, even though he has a great personality, or so I thought, is generous, caring, can express his emotions and all this stuff. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he had only been in 2 relationships in his life, both 5+ years long. Though. He told me that's because he's shy and ugly and women don't really want anything from him, like, ever, especially not good-looking ones. I am fairly conventionally attractive and he has kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning, though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time etc. I really was fearing for some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet, plus I don't want to look easy. But turns out no, he's a really sweet guy, and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome or so, and frankly, originally I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away quickly. Once we started thoroughly dating, things went fast, because it all was so wonderful. Well, apparently a while ago he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by, and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He's shown me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop dead gorgeous. Maybe I am exaggerating because I am so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. Frown. He didn't tell me much about what they talked, just that she was very friendly, and they exchanged numbers, and started texting more and more often. He says, she at some point openly started pursuing him even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and can't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realized that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally has never happened in his life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy, because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that and that being attractive has its own problems, but he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him, too. He swears he has only met her one more time, for lunch, after the first encounter, and that he thinks it is not yet an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her, because, as he put it, this is the first woman who is genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass. Or something along those lines. My memory is a bit hazy. The 3 months refers to the time it took him to get a date with me, BTW. And that is why he says he is breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do, because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating and he doesn't want to cheat on so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I am also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I give him a hard time? If I had said what I wanted back then, if I had pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt if a woman does that, she shows she's easy and I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way. And now it is biting me in the butt. Frown. And I of course, am very mad at him, but he didn't even cheat on me. He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. Ugh. I kinda wished he had actually cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice, I know I'm fucked. Edit. Holy fuck, this blew up so much. First, thank you all so much for your comments. This is much appreciated. And also some of you made me really think. I still feel this was unwarranted, and if he was so unhappy he should have told me. But I guess I wasn't as good of a wife as I thought. I didn't really show him that I love him, and why, and didn't put in much effort, and someone said he was starving for attention and I guess that's my fault in a way. Ugh. Still, I think just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to get the courage to talk to my BFF, and we'll meet later so I can tell her everything, and she spontaneously will take me out for a spa weekend. I hope I can get my head clear there. I was so scared, but she was not at all condescending. She's the best. Update 1. I have texted my husband telling him I wish to meet up with him to talk about this thing. I've told him I love him and don't understand where this is suddenly coming from, and that I think I deserve to at least have an earnest conversation with me about it. I haven't got any answer yet. Commenter, have you taken anything to heart that anyone who isn't fully bashing your husband has said? You've emotionally deprived this man. He has felt unappreciated in this marriage with a wife who regularly gives her number to randoms, who doesn't think she has to do anything nice for him because that's the man's job, and who doesn't tell him that he's handsome or that she's attracted to him because she's honest. If you still don't understand how you've been damaging and driving your husband away, then there's no point in talking to him about this thing, as you put it. He's not gonna come crawling back to you after you've made him feel unwanted for who knows how long. Oop, I've taken it to heart. Which is why I want to talk to him. He never expressed these things to me. Update 2. My husband has finally replied, and agreed to meet with me today in the afternoon. I thought it was better to choose a public place, so we'll meet at a cafe in town. I am scared. Update 3. Yesterday, My husband and I met for the first time since he up and left last Friday. And frankly, after the meetup, I was very shaken, so it took me until today to be able to write about this. Since so many people have reached out to me with helpful comments and all, I think you deserve an update, but I really wasn't up to it yesterday also. This is really long, so sorry in advance, there's just so much to cope with. So here we go. The situation felt very awkward, and I got the impression the whole time that he genuinely feels sorry for how things were and that what he is doing hurts me. I know many of you said he's a douche, a cheater and whatnot, and I really understand you and are mad at him myself. But on the other hand, you all do not know him like I do. He's a very honest person, he despises lying, and is really bad at this. He carries his heart on his tongue and I know him well enough to sense his feelings. Did that help me? Not much. Now, even if I wished, I couldn't paraphrase our talk, and I am sure I will miss certain things, and overall, it was a mixture of him telling and me asking questions, and all is a big flurry in my head, so I'll just summarize I guess. First he told me that he really loved me, and he still does, but he feels that his feelings for the new woman are stronger. He told me her name, let's call her Jasmine, not her real name. He admits Jasmine is gorgeous, but claims that on its own was in no ways relevant for his decision. Yeah, right, he told me that she originally approached him because of a book he was reading during lunch. Supposedly, the book's author is her uncle, and she was able to tell my husband some funny stories about the time her uncle drafted that book. He says he and Jasmine have very similar interests. Jasmine also reads sci-fi as he does, because of said uncle who is a sci-fi author, and both like gaming and stuff. He says after they exchanged numbers, they initially only wrote about stuff like that, and later on they talked about other hobbies and interests and found more and more common ground as he put it. He also admitted that like 2 weeks or so ago he started to wonder if he should actively tell me about her, seeing how she turned from an acquaintance to what he deems a friend. I interjected that they don't know each other long enough to consider her a friend, but he says he feels Jasmine is really genuine with him. This is a man who cannot pick up social clues unless they are spelled out for him, but whatever, he also feels a lot more in tune with Jasmine than he does with me. Admittedly, we seem to have less common interests, but I never felt like I have to be exactly like my partner. Opposites can complement each other well, and I always felt we do. Well, looks like he feels much happier with someone catering to his interests a lot more. He also became a bit self-critical then. He says after he left for his friend's place, he sat down and reread his conversation history with Jasmine, and he realized that she had indeed been flirting with him before she told him she wanted more. It didn't start out flirtatious, but he admits he totally missed that. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the beginning and then when she started flirting. He might have tuned the messages, but at least the beginning's really ready friendly. The flirtatious parts however were blatantly obvious in my eyes, but he actually blames himself for that and says that while that doesn't change his feelings for her, it means he should have not iced this earlier and, well, he said, make the decision to pursue her earlier. That sort of broke me and I started sobbing, because it sounds as if I never had a chance compared to Jasmine frown. He even wanted to console me, and I allowed that for a couple minutes, but then I sought some distance again. It both felt good and bad to be in his arms frown. Then it was time to ask me why she is so attractive to him that he leaves me, his wife, for just the mere possibility of being with another woman. I mentioned that someone, I didn't say Reddit, suggested she might be a scam, or just interested in breaking up marriages and going after men who are taken, and such. He, of course, vehemently denied that. Supposedly, they met last Sunday to go out for dinner, and they talked about the fact that she approached him even though he is married, and she claims to have a really bad conscience about this, and that she never would have done it, had she not felt such a deep connection between them blah blah blah. I must admit I really struggled through that part. Because if it is true, it hurts me, and if it isn't, it hurts even more that he falls for BS frown. He then told me in excruciating detail about his dating life, and how long he was a virgin, and how he was always treated by girls back in middle school and high school, and by the women in college and later on, how he really feels that he always has to be the one initiating, fighting even for a chance, and felt like he was always treated as unworthy by almost all women, and how that made him bitter. He admitted that, but also how he always thought that someone who truly fits him, fits his personality, his character, his being, would be someone who would not make him jump through hoops, someone who'd outright tell him she is intrigued by him and wants him. He says he loves me dearly and was always very grateful for being with me, but that even with me he always felt somewhere between a beggar and the subject of a pity party, where I bestowed the grace of my companionship onto him instead of actually liking and wanting him. When I asked him whether that means he settled for me, he vehemently denied that. He said when we started to date, I really treated him better than any woman had done before, so he really thought this was what he had been looking for, and before meeting Jasmine he never felt like he needed more. I of course tried to tell him that I am not with him out of pity or anything, and explained why I made him wait 3 months, and why I think the man should court the woman and so forth, and then I also admitted that I might not have given him the appreciation he deserved. This time, it actually was his turn to drop tears for a bit. He said hearing that made him both grateful, and unhappy that he never really communicated better about this. I told him that hearing him say that feels like he is putting the blame on me. And I swear to God, his eyes like doubled their size, and he looked genuinely shocked, and he apologized many times and said he did not want me to think he actually has any bad feelings about having to wait back then and that this is a situation where no one is to blame, but especially not me. He said I have been a wonderful wife and all, but that with Jasmine, it just feels different, and like a deeper connection that the two of us have, and that while he thought that I was wonderful, he now realizes that what he really was looking for in life was something else. So he says reconciliation is not really an option because he realized that we're not right for each other, and even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he actually needs something that I just not am. I mentioned marriage counseling, and he said that it's not like our marriage has issues, but that the issue is that we're just not right for each other. There were more things we said, and maybe I'll add some later, but right now I am too mentally exhausted. Especially because I still don't feel like I can hate him, because he felt so freaking honest. I think he at least truly believes all the things he said, but that woman still might be a total liar or a scam. He at least promised to be careful with her financial wise, but he assured me she's not that. I don't know what to make with any of this. It hurts. I guess my marriage is over. Frown now. Second story. Cousin pressures me to tattoo him on his wedding day, but I feel uncomfortable and unprepared for the situation, causing tension in the family. I am a tattoo artist. I've done an apprenticeship the first year of tattooing. I work as a tattoo artist for 4 years now, and I opened a studio recently. Me and my family are invited to a wedding that is taking place in another state. My cousin is marrying and we got the invitation a few months ago. Time has moved forward and now the wedding is in a week already. Out of the blue, my cousin, let's call him Matt, texted me with something along the lines of "You're gonna tattoo me on my wedding day." I was a bit confused as I never even thought of bringing my equipment, since I also didn't plan a guest spot or anything. Guest spot is a tattoo artist working at another studio for a few days or weeks, mostly in a different area to grow the clientele. I jokingly asked if he has a machine, as I still hoped that he wasn't serious. He then just asked if I don't have one, and that one machine wouldn't take up that much space to take with. I replied that I didn't plan on bringing my equipment, that in fact contains more than just a machine, color, hygiene stuff, stencil, that's the purple stuff you put on the skin to then trace the tattoo with actual needles, etc., and that I'm not prepared to tattoo at a wedding of which I don't know anything about, layout of the location, is it inside/outside, and so on. He then said that he had planned on this and that it would mean a lot to him to both get a tattoo on his wedding day and that I'd be the one to tattoo him. Remember, that this is the first time I'm hearing this. I again tried to explain that I don't feel comfortable with that and that it's quite short notice as I work until me and my brother fly over to attend the wedding and a tattoo needs to be designed first, right? He saw my message but didn't reply anymore. This morning my mother called and she was furious. She asked why I couldn't pull my shit together and just tattoo Matt. I told her what I've previously told Matt as well, but she didn't want to hear it. She just said it would mean a lot to her and Matt's family if I do that and that it could be my wedding gift. Then she hung up. I talked to my brother about it and he just shrugged it off and said it would be nice of you, though I'm unsure what to do now. As I said, I'm not really comfortable with the whole situation, especially because I've never been guest spotting, so I never had to travel, let alone get on a plane with my equipment. But is that just selfish? I mean, it would mean a lot to apparently everyone and I'm just saying no? Edit. 1. I do have an actual wedding gift already, as they sent out a wish list with their invitations. There was a point that said artwork, because they recently moved into a bigger house and apparently they want random artwork to decorate. I oil painted them a painting I spent several days on, so I also don't plan to give him a voucher as a gift. 2. Maddie doesn't have any tattoos as far as I know. 3. I don't know what my mom's problem is with all of this. I think she just wants to keep the peace. Update 1. So the last hours have been a lot. First I called my mom and wow, she asked me again, this time very friendly, if I want to tattoo Maddie at his wedding, and again I said no, with all the reasons I've previously given her plus some of the very good points you guys had. Before she could say anything else, I added that I felt like she wouldn't take me and tattooing seriously. She didn't say anything for a bit until she tried to explain that SHE really thought it wasn't a big deal. I told her again that it is and that my mom of all the people should know how my job works. She agreed and apologized profusely. I then asked her if she'd like to attend and watch me work on a client's appointment, and to my surprise she said yes. Mom is tagging along tomorrow. Now to Maddie, or rather his bride. I finally got hold of the bride, let's say her name is Becky, and asked her about the request her fiancé confronted me with. She seemed surprised, as she apparently had heard from my aunt that I made them something for their new house. She assumed it would be a painting since I'm the artist of the family and it's known that I also paint. I confirmed that, but that Maddie has come forward with this out of the blue and that it's not a good idea for many reasons. She agreed with me immediately. I think she does have tattoos. She thanked me for telling her as no one else did. Becky seemed really mad, but she seemed to pull herself together. I would have lost it. I'm assuming Becky confronted Matt after our call, because only 3 to 4 hours later I checked the family group chat and there was a message from Becky. There will be no ceremony on the 13th as Matt and I decided we aren't getting married. Matt and I have things to figure out, so please text or call us tomorrow if you have questions. For the rest of the day we'll be on flight mode. After dinner Becky called me and apologized for Matt again. She said it was a stupid idea of his and that he just thought it would be cool. She then informed me that she still wants me to fly over for the wedding day, as she will be hosting a party instead of a wedding. Everything is paid for anyways and she doesn't want anything to go to waste. I asked if they broke up. Not yet, but I'm gonna stay at my sister's place until next week. I'm assuming Matt hasn't been too great, but I'm sure I'll hear about it. Apparently my brother and my mom aren't invited. Lol, my call must have been the last straw, but as far as I am concerned Becky is handling it gracefully and Matt will be okay too, I'm sure. So I'm going to a party, but did I just make a new friend? Update 2. So because a lot of you wanted to know how the bring your mom to work day was, I picked her up in the morning and we headed to the studio. I showed her around, told her a few background stories about some of the artworks and photos that are hanging on our walls and explained her my routine as I prepared everything. My client arrived and I handled it like I usually would, just with my mom sitting there. Lol. I explained every step of the process and she also asked me questions about my ink, needles, technique, etc. It was a lot of fun having her around and she really did surprise me with her openness and interest. When I was done with tattooing my mother had to leave for work, but thanked and hugged me for bringing her along, as she not only enjoyed spending time with me but also loved seeing me doing my job so professionally and said that she sees my work and efforts now. To the wedding/party, the party started at 1400 hours as the ceremony was cancelled. I arrived and was immediately welcomed by Becky's sister. She hugged me and helped me with my painting. Everyone was outside, drinking and having a small bite already. I went to say hi to Becky and she hugged me warmly. She seemed tired but otherwise fine. Becky was also smiling a lot, which surprised me. I went to mingle as I didn't want to start off with questioning her. Lol. I met a lot of her friends and apparently the most of them weren't too fond of Matt. I heard a few things of how he tried to change Becky to be more like his ex and stuff like that. Not a great look, Matty. Speaking of, not a single friend or relative of Matt was around. Besides me and one other cousin. Later as we sat down to eat, I asked if could join Becky's table. They said yes, so I was sitting with Becky, her sister and 3 of her friends. I introduced myself to one of them, haven't talked to him before, and Becky added that I'm Matt's cousin, the one who was supposed to tattoo. A simultaneous "oh" came from everyone. And with that, the conversation was about Matt from the get-go. I asked what happened. The sister just rolled her eyes and was like, what didn't? Becky and friends told me, a while ago Matt has apparently started to pick on Becky for being herself in various ways. It started small, like asking her to change her sports routine from workouts to only running, then he criticized her cooking as he prefers to eat more meat and more traditionally. They discussed these topics and it always seemed fine, but he didn't stop. He asked her if she couldn't let her hair grow or get extensions, and speaking of hair, if she couldn't get them bright. Becky has shoulder-long black hair. More and more seemed to pile up until he also started to make comments along the line of "can't you be more like my ex?" As I understand it, he didn't say it specifically, but it was clear he meant it like that. His ex is from Texas. I was shocked. I asked why she didn't break up because of that, but Becky explained that in the situations it didn't seem as bad as when you list those reasons. She had also made a few changes to make Maddie happy but continued to do what she wanted most of the time. Time went on and the issues resurfaced again and again in different ways. The last big fight was only a few weeks ago, when Maddie called Becky by his ex's name. They somehow settled this, so let's skip forward to when I called Becky about the tattoo idea. After our call she went up to Matt and asked him why he didn't talk to her about it and why he would just decide doing something like that on their wedding day. He explained that he wanted to surprise her and stuff like that. Becky went on telling him this wasn't happening and that she wanted to be able to enjoy the wedding and their honeymoon. Again they seemed to agree in the end and he apologized. But later, this almost threw me, as Becky was starting to cook dinner and Matt was sitting at the counter. They talked about tattoos again, apparently really chill discussion about tattoos in general, and Becky asked him playfully what he intended on getting tattooed. He gestured across his chest and said, I want my birth date, our wedding date and your birth date, so, insert his BD /06.13.2024 / insert BD /. Becky said she went blind for a millisecond. That third date was in fact not her birthday. She asked him again and he repeated the same dates. She then said that this isn't her birth date. He persisted that it was and that she should stop trying to fool him. She said she started to cry and ran to get her purse to show him her driver's license. That's when his face slipped. He tried to get out of it by making excuses that he isn't good with dates, etc., but Becky just went straight to her phone and checked Facebook. She found his ex's profile showing her birthday. It was the date he would have gotten tattooed on his chest, if I hadn't said no and also called Becky. My dumbass cousin would have ended up with the birthday of his ex-girlfriend next to his wedding date. Becky said he more or less told him it was over and that this is enough. She started to immediately reorganize the whole wedding and honeymoon while kicking him out of the house. A bit later she called me back. She also mentioned that she didn't want to say what happened on the phone as she thought I might tell my family and she really didn't want to hear about it. Fair, I get that. Becky changed the honeymoon booking and is now taking her best friend. Also, if you're wondering, Becky's dad is currently the owner of their house as they agreed to slowly pay him back, due to his financial wealth and stability that made more sense this way. As far as I know, Becky is going to stay there. Anyways, that's the tea, folks. This was truly a wild ride and I am pretty sure Becky and I are going to be good friends. We really hit it off. I don't have much dignity left for Matt, so I'm not sure I'll keep the contact at all. P.S. Becky loved my painting. Commenter, I was wondering if you know how long Becky and Matt dated before the wedding day? It seems crazy that he would be so sure of the wrong birthday. Like, have they celebrated Becky's birthday before? Has he ever said happy birthday to her on the wrong day? Either way, I'm glad it came out and y'all are living your best lives now without Matt's Dutchiness clouding the way. Oop, they have been together for about 3 years, I think. Update 3. First of all, since that question came up a few times, I'm a woman. Well, Becky and her bestie went to Bali as they re-planned. During her vacation we texted quite a bit. Then they came back and we were still texting. First it was all very superficial and polite as she thanked me for telling her about the whole tattoo thing, that I showed up to the party anyways and that I still gifted her my painting, etc. We got into other stuff like music, movies and hobbies. We have a lot in common. Turns out she is just as nerdy as me, so we could connect over anime and different games. I never had a female friend to share these interests. She's also coming over for a few days next week. I'm super excited. Anyways, I am super happy how everything went and to see that Becky is doing very good without my cousin lol. I think she's truly relieved and is beautifully blooming.